I think he was a legitimate number 2 or number 1 receiver. And my man's at work. It's like, nigga, he's a Niners fan, so he's not even like he has no dog in the fight. He's like, nigga, stop talking to me. I'm like, bruh. I'm like, how you gonna tell me? Say I'm getting worked up. I'm like, how you gonna tell me Santana Moss ain't no dog? He'll cook anybody. Put anybody in front of him, he'll cook them. And I'm sitting here talking to him, not even realize like, bro, at this point we're not talking realistically at this point. I'm like, I feel like I'm coming from the position of you're sleeping on XYZ. Like you're sleeping on this guy, you're sleeping on Santana, but that's not back in 2013. He wasn't a number 1. And it's perfectly fine to say that, but you couldn't tell me shit. And I say that to say, I agree with you 100%. Like, over time, you'll start to realize that, especially with a team like us who hasn't really won, you said since you were 6, since I was born, I don't even know what winning looks like. I think that a lot of people just have to understand, like, as time evolves, you get a better perspective. Because you're removed from winning, you get a better perspective of what is possible, what's likely to happen, and also what you can expect moving forward. And I think the best approach to encapsulate every single one of those things is to be cautiously optimistic, and that's where I was going with it. I think that's the best approach, but also just to help yourself from getting hurt from a team that hasn't really proven anything in 30 years, that's probably the best bet.
And, it's funny that you mentioned your situation about Santana Moss. I've actually had this conversations with a lot of fans over the years about Ryan Kerrigan. And,
man. Oh, my goodness. That's a trigger for me. Go ahead.
And that's the thing, though. People will always assume that, you're hating on Ryan Kerrigan, if you don't say Ryan Kerrigan is this great dominant pass rusher, then you're hating on him. I don't hate Ryan Kerrigan. I think Ryan Kerrigan is everything they usually call the stereotypical white pass rusher. He has a high motor. He's relentless. He's always on the play, but he's never been a dominant guy. He's never been a guy you game plan against as an offensive coordinator. He's never been the guy that frees up other guys on the other side of the pass. Usually, he played with Brian Arakpo for a lot of years, and I think he benefited from that, even though I had my own issues with Brian Arakpo as far as like him just flailing his arms in the air every time. I'm like, oh, call the holding. No, Brian, learn the new pass rush. Right. Don't just bull rush. But no, I mean, I felt like I always felt like Ryan Kerrigan was the greatest complimentary pass rusher guy you can have. He was never the marquee pass rusher guy in this league. And a lot of people always tell you that, oh, well, you're hating on him. Ryan's great. He's this. I mean, Ryan's been great for this franchise, no doubt. No, don't get me wrong. If you want to put Ryan in the ring of fame, you're not going to get an argument out of me, in FedEx Field. But he was never the guy that you would call the elite dominant pass rusher in his era. He gets compared to J.J. Watt a lot, rightfully so, because they came out in the same draft. But J.J. Watt was leagues ahead of Ryan Kerrigan. A lot of the Homer fans that kind of don't live in the reality expectations, they don't see it that way. They just look at numbers and say, oh, this is it.